just sit back and think, how did gaming get this bad? Like, seriously, we went from unlocking characters by actually playing the game to paying extra just to use the internet. Modern gaming isn't just flawed, it's actively working against the consumer now. And today, I want to break down exactly why. Problem number 1, the you don't own your games era. Let's start with something that honestly doesn't get talked about enough. You don't actually own your games anymore. You're renting access to them. Digital storefronts can delist games, servers can shut down, licenses expire, and boom, game's gone. All that money, all that time, doesn't matter. Or how about the whole subscription-based services where you basically borrow games? PlayStation Catalog, Nintendo Switch Online, and yeah, even Xbox Game Pass, which is probably the least offensive out of all of them. But let's be real, the moment you stop paying, the entire library is gone. You don't keep anything, you don't own anything, you're just borrowing it on a timer. So now it's not even about buying games anymore, it's about subscribing to them. And if you thought, alright, I'll just stick to physical copies then. Yeah, about that, because even that isn't safe anymore. Now we've got companies taking physical media and stripping it down to basically nothing, which leads us to this. Problem number 2, the death of physical games. Starting with Nintendo. They really looked at game key cards and thought they were a good idea. Maybe for their pockets, but not necessarily the consumer. A physical cartridge that doesn't even contain the full game. It's literally just a trigger or a license, so to speak, to download it. So now you've got the illusion of ownership with none of the benefits. You can't preserve it, you can't rely on it long term. It's basically digital, wearing a cartridge costume. And just to be clear, this whole game key card thing, that's mostly third-party developers doing it. Nintendo's own first-party games are still fully on cartridge, but that doesn't really make it any better, because it shows this isn't a limitation, it's a choice. And this is coming from Nintendo, the same company charging $80 for games now. $80? For what? Because of how robust the experience is? Which, by the way, 1 year later, that game is still barren, but I digress. I was talking about Mario Kart World. And now? Yeah, Nintendo isn't the only one doing this anymore. Rockstar's stepping in too, charging $80 for the standard edition of GTA 6 and $100 for the Ultimate Edition. And the craziest part, it's all digital. Even the so-called physical copies, they're not even carrying discs anymore. Just a download code sitting inside an empty case. So what are you actually buying at that point? An empty case with art on it? And if you think this is just a Nintendo or a Rockstar or a Microsoft problem, it's not. PlayStation now is stepping into the ring and heading in the same direction, with talks of physical disc production for new games potentially ending around 2028. So this whole idea of physical games, yeah, it's slowly disappearing right in front of us, and instead we've been getting this weird middle ground, where it looks physical, but it's basically digital anyways. So now $80 might not even be the exception, it might be the new standard. Which brings me to our next problem. Problem number 3, incomplete games and day one patches. This is another huge problem. Games are released unfinished, and not like a few bugs here and there. I'm talking missing features, broken systems, performance issues, and they just slap a day one patch on it like that fixes everything. Back then, if a game launched broken, it more often than not failed. Now, that's just expected. Oh, don't worry guys, it'll be good in 6 months. Why am I paying full price to beta test your game? And honestly, it gets even worse than that, because sometimes it's not even that the game is unfinished by mistake. They are unfinished on purpose, leading us to our next topic. Problem number 4, DLC culture. Let's talk about DLC for a second, because DLC is a pretty cool concept. Expansion packs, extra content, stuff that adds to the game. Now, it feels like content is being cut out on purpose, just to be sold back to you later. Some franchises that I can think of that do this straight off the top of my head are Pokemon and Street Fighter. Characters locked behind paywalls, story content missing at launch, cosmetics priced like entire indie games. You're not buying a full experience anymore. You're buying the base layer, and then you're getting charged for the rest piece by piece. And somehow, even after all of that, you're still not done paying, because now you've got to pay just to play the game online. Old news, I know. Problem number 5, paying to play online. This one still blows my mind. We are paying to use our own internet that we also pay for, by the way, to play online. PlayStation Plus, Xbox Game Pass, Nintendo Switch Online. Why? PC players don't have to deal with this. You buy a game, you play online, simple. But on console, nah, you gotta pay a subscription fee just to access a feature that's literally built into the game. It's one of the biggest scams in gaming, and somehow it's just normalized. Which, might I mention, we could trace that all the way back to Microsoft charging for online services since the original Xbox. And yeah, people will say, well, just play on PC then. No subscription, free online. Sounds great, right? Yeah, until you realize how utterly expensive a good PC rig is, as well as a slew of other problems we'll be discussing next. Problem number 6. Unoptimized PC ports. PC isn't exactly safe either, because what are these PC ports lately? Terrible performance, stuttering, crashes, games launching in completely broken states. Look at stuff like The Last of Us Part 1 on PC, Jedi Survivor on launch. These are major titles, running like absolute garbage. PC ports are often bad because the games aren't really made for PC in the first place. They're built for consoles first, then rushed over to PC later. Different hardware, different setups, and not enough time to make it run properly. So what you end up with is a game that technically works, but runs like crap. And on top of that, you've got DRM. Always online requirements, launchers on top of launchers, background checks just to make sure you own the game you already paid for, and half the time, that stuff actually makes performance even worse, so now you're dealing with a badly optimized port and extra systems dragging it down even more, and somehow that's still not the end of it. This next section doesn't affect everybody, but it is something that's been ruining a lot of multiplayer games, because now it's not just about how the game runs, it's about how the game is designed. Problem number 7, free-to-play slop. Then we've got free-to-play games. There's a lot I could say here, but I'm going to keep it as brief as I possibly can. Now don't get me wrong, there are some good ones out there, but a lot of them are just soulless, designed entirely around monetization. Battle passes, daily logins, FOMO mechanics, everything is built to keep you hooked just long enough to spend money. It's not about making a great game anymore, it's about making a profitable loop. This has gotten so out of hand that they've been incorporating these mechanics into paid games. Games you paid $60 to $70 with free-to-play mechanics and boatloads of monetization, which is just insane if you really think about it. It stops feeling like you're just buying a game, it starts feeling like every part of the experience is designed to stretch your wallet in all sorts of different directions. And one of the most obvious places that shows up is when you actually try to download and install the game you just paid for. Problem number 8, insane download sizes. And can we please talk about file sizes? Why is every game 100 plus gigabytes now? Call of Duty and Mortal Kombat basically take up your entire console. You download one game and suddenly you gotta delete 5 others. And for what? Half the time it's poor optimization and uncompressed assets. It's ridiculous. And the worst part? Even the storage you get out of the box isn't enough anymore. So now you're buying extra SSDs or hard drives just to keep up on console, on something that's supposed to be plug and play. It's just another thing you have to pay for just to comfortably enjoy the games you already bought. But even that's not the final layer of this whole mess, because the cost of getting into gaming in the first place has been going up too. Problem number 9, consoles getting more expensive. And on top of all this, consoles themselves are getting more expensive. $500, $600, and that's before extra controllers, subscriptions, games, storage upgrades. And it's not like the alternatives are any better. You've got things like the Steam machine starting at $1,049 without a controller and $1,128 with a controller. So no matter where you go, you're paying up. Now to be fair, not every one of these is technically required. If you're only playing single player games, you don't need extra controllers, and you can skip subscriptions entirely if you're not touching online features. But let's be real, a huge chunk of people aren't doing just that. Most people want to play online with friends. Most people want access to the full features of the games they buy. So it stops being optional in practice, even if it's optional on paper. And when you stack all of that together, gaming used to be a relatively accessible hobby. Now, it feels like a luxury, and after everything we've talked about, you start to realize this isn't just one or two problems, it's the entire structure of modern gaming that's shifted. And the question becomes, how did we even get here in the first place? And this is the part that really sucks. Gone are the days of buying a console with a game, plopping it in and just having a grand old time. Gaming used to be a hobby with a low entry point, something where you could get hours and hours of amazing experiences, just pure fun. No extra fees, no missing content, no nonsense. But now, it feels like it's becoming a fleeting dream. And look, I love gaming, that's why this stuff is so frustrating. Because we've seen how good it can be. We've seen complete games, unlockable content, fair pricing, polished launches, so this isn't the best gaming can be. It's just what companies know they can get away with. And until we start pushing back, it's never gonna change. With all of that aside, I wanna hear from you guys. What do you think is the worst thing about modern gaming right now? Let me know in the comments below. Serve this as a reminder to keep the pressure on Sony's head. Spam their posts, make some noise, and don't let them go. And don't forget to drop a disc emoji in the comments below. We gotta ward off the evil money vampire Sony somehow. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to drop a like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I will catch you all in the next video, and peace out, everyone.